did we spend years in school and no one ever taught us how to actually learn? Like, imagine how much easier life would have been if you knew from the beginning how to best absorb information for your specific brain. Anyways, I genuinely am confused at how it is not a required part of the curriculum to teach students how to identify what their learning style is. I can't believe how many people probably waste so much of their time doing things to study for exams, pass courses, just because their teacher and the school tells them to, or it's in the culture on how to study, but it doesn't actually work for them. Also, frightens me to think about the number of people who have classified themselves as not smart or dumb just because they are trying to learn in a style that is not in alignment with what their learning style is. If you haven't heard of the 80-20 principle before, it's basically a principle that means that whenever you do something, 20% of what you do or the effort that you put into it will actually lead to the vast majority of the result of the action that you're taking. And 80% of what you do to accomplish whatever it is you're trying to accomplish is actually giving you very minimal results. It is not very relevant to helping you to achieve what you want to achieve. So one of the main reasons for me why it is so important that more people know about their learning style is because if we're applying the 80-20 principle to learning, not just in a formal education system, but in all types of settings, any type of information. If we were to know our learning style and how we best absorb information and focus on what is best in alignment with that, we would in essence be focusing on what is going to help us consume the information in the most efficient and effective way for us and focus on that 20% that's actually going to get us to the results that we want, rather than wasting our time doing the 80% just because other people are doing them or because a school system or your parents, teachers, whoever it is, tells you that that's the way that works for them and that's the way you should do it. Let's get more into it. After doing some research of my own, there seems to be 4 main learning styles. The first is visual, so actually watching something and being able to remember that. Second is auditory, so anything through hearing. Third is reading and writing, so when you can really take in information by reading a book or writing a book. And fourth is kinesthetic. That's when you are a hands-on learner. You could also be a multimodal learner, which is kind of a mixture of all the above. There are other learning styles, but these are the main ones. So I'm not going to go into all the little intricacies of what that could look like. If you want to learn your own learning style, you're going to have to do your own research on that. But those are the main ones. For me personally, I always knew my learning style, but informally. And my education background is, pretty good. I went to high school, I went and did an undergrad, and then I went to law school. And throughout that time, I would do things that helped me get good grades because I noticed that some things that I did disproportionately impacted my grades and would allow me to do better, memorize more, understand more. And those always had to do with listening and verbalizing. So just recently, after having a conversation with Chat, I came to the realization a few weeks ago that I am such an auditory learner. I am definitely an auditory learner more than anything else. And later on in the video, I'm going to share the prompts that I used and the discussion you can have with Chat so you can discover your learning style. But when I learned this about myself, it was kind of amazing because I knew it, but it was so cool to put a label on it to really understand that this is how it is for me. All my life, I noticed a few things. I noticed things that I was really good at and then things that I was particularly poor at. For example, something that I am not good at is remembering what happens in TV shows or movies. I will literally watch a movie and then a month later, not even a month later, I will forget every single thing that happened in the movie. I do not remember what the plot is, even my favorite movies. I can think of 3 of my favorite movies right now. I don't remember them. The Office. I've literally watched The Office 3 times in a row. I swear to you, 85% of the episodes, if you put them on for me, I would be I don't remember what's going to be happening next. I have no idea. And this is weird, okay? For the average. Well, I wouldn't say it's weird, but compared to most people that I talk to, they say that's odd because most people at least remember the plots of movies. I don't. I always knew that about myself. So it lends to me not being visual, right, at all. But one thing I am really good at is listening to books. Audiobooks for a lot of people don't work when you're listening to nonfiction books because they can't absorb the information. For me, when I listen to an audiobook and I am fully focused, I absorb the information even better than when I read a physical book. I remember everything that was said. I remember the main points. I remember where I was, where I listened to it. I know how to implement it in my life as long as I'm actually listening. And this was something that confused me because I did kind of know I was like an auditory learner, but when I listen to books, sometimes I will make images in my mind, even though my eyes are open and I don't actually see images, but like I kind of make like a mental movie. It's kind of hard to explain if you aren't doing it yourself. So anyways, I always thought like maybe I wasn't an auditory learner because I make these mental movies and then I will recall them later down the road, like years down the road. I can recall where I was and what the mental movie kind of looked like. And after talking with Chat about that, he said, that is totally auditory, but you have a high level of like, I forget what he said, but it was like you're a very mentally imaginative. I don't know. It was a word, but it fit under the auditory category. So that was super interesting to hear. Other things throughout my life that looking back has me realizing I'm fully auditory is that when I was in law school, there's like, you take so many classes, there are so many readings, so many assignments, exams, etc. I didn't read at all. Zero throughout law school. So bad. I say this in so many videos, but I genuinely didn't read at all. And I would talk to all the other students reading like literally 50 pages a night per class. And I would be like, I just did not do that. I just attended the lecture. I fully focused, listened to what the instructor said, and then reviewed my notes. And when I review my notes, I know that the best way that I will consume the information is if I take my notes and I go in a place separate from everyone else and I read the notes out loud and I pretend as if I'm teaching someone. That is something I did, I think, since high school. I would just read my notes and pretend I was teaching someone and then turn my notes over and then pretend I was teaching someone without looking at the notes. And that helped me remember things so much faster than any other thing I did. I tried flashcards, I tried whatever else there was at the time that people were doing. It just didn't work for me. So I just locked myself in a room and I talked it out loud, and that's what worked. Outside of the formal education setting, I definitely see instances of being an auditory learner as well. And that's what's going to happen if you are looking for your learning style. It's not just when you are actually trying to learn something, it's just what happens on a day-to-day basis and how you're consuming information. For me, when someone tells me that they have a plan or they want to make a plan with me, or they have an appointment at this time, this day, even if it's not really relevant to my life, I will remember it. I will remember exactly what they said. I will remember the time, I will remember the day, and I will think about them on that time or day if they're relevant, but I will always remember what they say. And if I'm making a plan with someone, I will write it down in my calendar, but honestly, I remember it. If they verbally told me, okay, Saturday at 3 p.m., we're going to go this place, and then we're going to go to this place, I will remember it because they spoke it to me. If they texted it to me, there is a chance I wouldn't remember it. I would have to write that down because I read it and it just doesn't consume this. My brain just doesn't consume it the same way. Anyways, enough about me, enough about my personal learning style. This is just always how I got good grades in school because I am so grateful to have discovered my learning style, even not formally, but to have informally recognized that these things that I was doing, listening in class, speaking out loud, were disproportionately impacting my grades. So I really narrowed down on that, which really helped me because I didn't need to waste my time reading books that were going to get me 1% better of a grade, but way more effort, let's say. So isn't it crazy that they don't teach you this in school from the beginning? Or like a lot of good students, even. A lot of students who went to law school, they didn't know their learning style either. People a lot of the times just don't consider it. So you kind of just end up doing everything. You kind of just end up listening to the lectures, writing notes, reading books, trying to do it with your hands. I don't know, you try to do all of it. But if you knew what was going to help you the most and focused on that, like formally knew that, it would make a world of a difference. And you can apply it to all areas of your life. Language learning, just improving your relationships with people because you can actually keep tabs on them and understand their life more because you're remembering about them more. It's just like such an amazing thing to know about yourself. Anyways, I'm not going to go on a tangent on that again. So if you're trying to discover your learning style, I would highly recommend going to ChatGPT and asking. This is my method, okay? I always open a Google Doc and I speak to it, okay? I put the voice recording thing, the one where you can speak to your computer and it basically dictates everything that you say. But I put that on and then I would say, Chat, I want to know my learning style. These are all the ways that I have learned in the past. And then I outlined, I did this and this and this in school. You can share whatever you did in school or whatever you did when learning a new job, starting a new job, learning a new language, whatever it is. Say, this is what worked for me, this is what didn't. And then also say anything in your life. Like, for example, my movie example, I don't remember movies. Maybe that's you too. Share that with Chat. Or maybe you particularly remember movies. Then share that with Chat. So just share anything about any conversations you have, what helps you remember, what tactics you've used in the past that really helps you and what doesn't. And based on that, copy and paste that into Chat and see what they say. Then maybe Chat will ask you more questions. You just have a conversation until he comes and tells you this is your learning style. And that's all. And maybe you're not going to find it as freeing as I did when you discover your learning style. But what I'd urge you to do at this point, once you've formally discovered it, is ask Chat how that applies to your life and how you can take that newfound information and apply it on a day-to-day and also maybe in your business, in your life, on your YouTube channel, whatever it is that you do. I did that. Chat told me that I would be really good at podcasting, actually, because I'm so auditory. And I was like, why? Why would I be good at that if I'm auditory, I can hear? And Chat said that I am probably prone to having good intonation and having good pace and being more natural when speaking, because throughout my life, I've picked up on these things when other people are speaking. So I know what a good quality monologue would sound like. Anyways, that was a nice compliment from Chat. Not gonna lie, I do agree, but this YouTube channel is kind of like my podcast. So anyways, ask Chat how else you could apply this in your life. And you might be surprised at how many amazing things that you could be doing that you haven't even considered. And also, maybe you're struggling to learn in different areas. And you could bring that up to Chat and say, hey, now knowing this is my learning style, how could I better learn this? Anyways, that is it for me. If you have made it to this point of the video, comment down what your learning style is. Oh my goodness, I would love that. Comment down your learning style after you discover it. That's it for me. Check out this video or this playlist to hear more from me. See you there. Bye.